So you've started your career in another industry, but you want to transition into consulting. So which consulting role should you apply to? And how is your career experience so far relevant to consulting? Is there a way to capitalize on your experience to ensure that you don't have to take a step down when you join? In this video, I'm going to answer all of these questions by stepping through a number of different jobs and how they give you relevant experience for specific types of consulting roles. Knowing exactly how your career experience is relevant to consulting is important for three reasons. The first is so that you can position your application as effectively as possible, making it easier for the recruiter or the consultant who is reading your application to see that you'd be a great fit somewhere within the organisation, and giving you an edge over other applicants who don't position their application in this way. The second is that the more relevant your previous experience is to the consulting role that you move to, the more senior that role can be, and the less of a step down that you'd have to take, if at all, when you move. And the third is that it will help you choose the right consulting role for you personally, meaning that you have a greater chance of landing a job that you'll genuinely be happy and productive in. Welcome back, by the way. I'm Charlie, a consulting senior manager and remote business owner, and my Consultant Explorer channel is to help you be so successful in your early years of management consulting that you are set up to do whatever you want to in life. So let's first lay out all the different types of roles that you can have in consulting, and then we can walk through all the other jobs that you may have had first and how they're each relevant to specific consulting roles. Roles in consulting are typically aligned to either an industry or a functional specialism. If you're aligned to an industry, then the consulting projects that you'll work on will be for clients in that industry. If you're aligned to a functional specialism, then the projects that you work on will be focused on client problems that are within that function. So if you have a financial services industry specialism, you'll work for banking clients. But if you have a functional specialism in marketing, you'll work on projects for all types of clients that want to improve their marketing functions. And clearly, projects will have a mixture of functional and industry specialists. For example, a marketing project for a bank might have a team of people with both industry and functional specialisms. So in lots of ways, it doesn't really matter whether you're aligned by industry or by functional specialism, because you can work on all the same projects. You can think of it like a matrix. And in this matrix, you have all the industries down the left-hand side and all the functional specialisms across the top. Our marketing project for a bank would be staffed with people from any of these boxes. The functional specialists will also have further specialisms that we can see in row 2, all of which play different parts in the same project. So using this matrix, if you're aligned to a financial services specialism, you can work on projects that sit anywhere along that row. Or if you're a marketing BA, so that means a front office BA, then you can work on projects for clients in any of these industries. Or if you're a supply chain BA, then you can work on projects for clients in any of these industries too, as a back office BA. There are also other consulting roles that are internal and who don't work on projects, but who instead work to support the client-facing consulting teams in different ways. And there are a number of careers that can prepare you for these roles too. Your specialism is usually a result of where your experience has been to date. And in this video, we're going to assume your experience so far has been outside of consulting. So let's step through all the different career experiences and how they will position you for different alignments. Now clearly, if you've worked previously in any of the industries down the left-hand side, then you have insider knowledge that could lead you to align yourself to an industry specialism within consulting. Accountancy, financial advisory, banking, insurance, or telco, media, entertainment, or computer hardware, printing, and so on. That said, I've actually seen more movement in the opposite direction here, where consultants move into industry. And my impression is that that is indicative of the level of ease or difficulty that people experience in making that jump in each direction. Especially at the mid to senior levels, it's hard to move into consulting and maintain the same level of seniority that you had in industry, because there are a number of core consulting skills that you will without a doubt need to use in your consulting job every single day, but that you won't have had the opportunity to develop necessarily yet in industry. And the more senior you are without those skills in consulting, the more of an issue that becomes. I've released a video which walks through exactly what those skills are, so if you want to understand whether you have had the opportunity to develop the skills already, then take a look at that video too. Here's the link. The much more realistic scenario is that you move into a more junior role in consulting from industry, so that you can take some time to learn these core consulting skills. This could be as an analyst, consultant, or manager position, so grad scheme or up to 2 promotions after the grad scheme. So if you're only a few years into your career, or if you don't mind taking a temporary step downwards, then you're well placed to transition into consulting. And in industry, you absolutely will have developed industry-specific skills, knowledge and experience and expertise that will be prized within a consulting project team and that will form the basis for a very successful career for you in consulting. You'll have had first-hand experience of how your clients do things and therefore a very informed perspective on how to help them do things better. And you'll have great credibility with clients too, who will really appreciate that you used to work within their industry. The other option that you have, counterintuitively, is if you're wanting to move from industry into consulting, to actually align yourself to a functional specialism. If you have very specific functional experience, like data science or UX design, then we'll come on to that in a minute. But if you don't have any specifically relevant functional experience in this matrix, then you could still go for a BA role. BAs have the responsibility of understanding how client businesses are run, identifying the problem areas, and then teasing out and designing solutions. If you already know how clients run specific parts of their business, because you used to work in it yourself, then you have a handy head start on BA work that others might not have, and you might even already have a particularly informed perspective on how you can help your clients do things better. Having that kind of experience and knowledge within a consulting team is really important. The department within which you worked will help to align you either to front office or back office BA work. If you were in marketing, sales, or customer service, for example, then you'll be best suited to a front office BA role. Whereas if you worked in supply chain, operations, or HR, then you'll be best suited as a back office BA. The key here is that you'll be on the consultant side of the teams of a project that is working alongside or within the department that you used to work in. And even if you didn't work in a department that typically hires consultants to run projects, you may have worked in an adjacent industry that means that you have skills or knowledge relevant to BA work. For example, if you worked in advertising or media planning, your experience is relevant to BA work in the marketing space, i.e. the front office. Or if you worked in logistics or procurement, your experience is relevant to BA work in the back office space. Okay, let's consider that you might actually have functional experience related to the second row of our matrix here, which could help you pinpoint your alignment further within the functional specialism track. Remember that the more specific and targeted that you can be, the stronger your application will seem to the recruiters and consultants reviewing it. You may have worked with data in a very hands-on kind of way. Perhaps you've wrangled data using tools like Power BI as part of a reporting or business intelligence process. Or you might even have built more predictive models using statistical methods, either as an in-house data scientist, a risk analyst, or as something like an actuary. Regardless of the circumstances of your experience, your fluency with data is a skill that the consulting industry will really want and need more of. The kinds of work that consultants do with data is really varied, from cleansing activity to analysis and reporting to predictive modeling and building algorithms. And it's done by a range of roles like data engineers and data analysts and data scientists, respectively. So if you have experience with data in any of these activities, then you have the opportunity to make a strong application because those skills are in high demand in consulting. Or maybe instead you're more of a creative and you've had hands-on experience in design, maybe as an architect or as a visual designer for some sort of consumer product. In either scenario, the skills that you've developed in understanding what a customer wants and or how they might behave and converting that understanding into a design that both does what it's meant to do and is aesthetically pleasing position you really well for a UX or a UI type role, as do the skills that you've acquired in using complex design tools, which have similarities in the way that they each operate. UX and UI designers in consulting typically are charged with designing the screen-by-screen experience for computer and mobile software applications. UXers focus more on the macro level of design, like, for example, navigation, meaning which pages should connect to which other pages. UI designers, on the other hand, focus more on the micro level of design, for example, on styles and images, meaning things like button sizes or shapes and page background versus foreground colours. So being able to understand what future users of software need, how they'll use it, and what the overall experience will feel like, both practically and aesthetically, once you've put it all together, is an important part of the job and will benefit from your architecture or design experience outside of consulting. Also, if you've been involved with the design of something like a house or a consumer product, then you may have had experience in user research methods too. By this I mean the process of really intimately understanding what customers want through asking scientifically constructed, objective questions that don't lead to any intentional answer, and analysing the results for patterns and insights. In consulting, user research is often an important part of software design, if that software is going to be exposed by clients to their end customers. So if you have that experience, it positions you nicely into the design functional specialism in consulting. Okay, let's consider something completely different. If you've been working in education as a teacher, then you have lots of options in consulting. The majority of consulting projects introduce new ways of working and/or new tools into client teams who have to learn how to use them. And it's usually the consulting team's responsibility to upskill the client in how to do so, because it's consultants who are designing and building all of the changes in the first place. So your teaching exposure is invaluable to these projects because you know how people learn and how to help people who may struggle to take on new information. You've learned how to present information to optimize learning, and you'll have an acute awareness of how much people really have taken on board or how long it might take them to get there. The change management team on any consulting project has a lot to learn from your knowledge and expertise. Similarly, a change management team usually also includes a communications manager, which is a relevant role for people with professional experiences in PR, reporting, or other communications roles. The communications manager on a consulting project is the person who's responsible for planning, organising, and executing a number of broader communications across the client organisation, so that everyone who works at the client, regardless of how close or distant they are from the project, is made aware of and kept up to date on what the project is doing, when it's going to have any impact, and what that impact might be, and most importantly, why this project is doing what it's doing. The whole exercise is about bringing people on the journey with the project team so that dissension is minimised and belief, excitement, and optimism are maximised. If you have experience in PR, reporting, or any other communications mechanisms that are carefully curated to help people understand or believe specific things at specific times, then you could make a brilliant communications manager in consulting. And positioning your skills in this way will strengthen your consulting application for sure. So you're probably wondering about the first few columns on this matrix. Let's consider the solution and enterprise architects, the technical BAs, and the development and test team roles. All of these roles involve a strong understanding of and experience in software development. If you've worked as a software developer, then you have some of the most important skills required for any of these roles. Enterprise architects analyze different software products and determine which subset of products have the best technical coverage for the capabilities required by the business teams. Solution architects dive a level deeper than that and design how that subset of products will integrate or communicate with each other, and which capabilities within which products will be used for what. Technical BAs convert business requirements into technical designs by interpreting the specifics of what the business has said it needs, and then determining how the software products made available to them can be configured or customized to meet that need. The development team configures and customizes the software as per the technical BA specifications, and then the test team tests that that software works once it's been configured and customized. So if you're considering joining consulting and you have software development experience from elsewhere, then your skills are really at the crux of what consultancies do. But I will just say this. If you're going to be a client-facing consultant working on client projects alongside clients, then it's very unlikely that you'll actually have any hands-on software development. The only consulting project team members that actually write code are generally offshore and non-client facing. The onshore client-facing team members manage those offshore developers and act as the interface with clients. So if you're keen to continue to write code, then you might be better off applying to a boutique software development consultancy or to an innovation function within one of the larger consultancies, which would both benefit from your hands-on skills. But if you're keen to take on more of a management type position, then your software development experience will mean that you have the very admirable ability to be really effective at identifying or mitigating development-related risks and proposing efficiencies for your team and their work. The better a software developer you are, the more insightfully you'll be able to coach your offshore team on development best practice, and the better the overall product will be for your client. So I've already mentioned the innovation functions within large consulting firms, but there are other functions that also don't typically do client-facing project work. These internal functions include HR, law, IT support, finance, sales, and market research. With the exception of market research, every company has all of these functions, and consulting is no exception. If you've specialised in any of these, or you've worked within these departments in another industry, then you have the skills required to apply them to these functions within consulting too. Given consulting is a people business, i.e. it sells people and not products, there are a lot of HR positions to support the people that it sells. There are also many legal roles, and the ones that I came across most frequently supported specific client accounts with contracting work. They were an approval point for every new contract that was drawn up for every new project, as well as for higher level master services agreement conversations with both software partners and clients. There are much fewer IT support personnel because much of it is outsourced, but they still play an important role in ensuring consultants have the equipment that they need to do their work. And actually, it's the same story for finance, although there are more positions in finance, as they support every project's financials just as the law team does. The one team here that is very different in consulting to in other industries is sales. Consultants who work on projects actually do most of the day-to-day sales work. So the sales-focused teams are there for only some deals. They typically manage or support RFPs, so requests for proposals, or larger proactive bids, and they work alongside consultants to help shape and position the proposal to be as successful as possible. So sales and consulting is much more about sales strategy and technique, and much less about quantity, relationships, and cold approaches than it is in other industries. It might be a great role for a senior account manager or regional lead from another industry to enter into from a career perspective, because it brings you into the strategic level within the enterprise market, but it won't necessarily resemble your previous sales position in all the ways that you might have expected. And finally, market research in consulting is a bit of a secret weapon. A small number of market research roles support consultants in pulling together a perspective on things like the state of industry X, or the future of function Y, or the impact of the pandemic on Z. There are not enough of these roles to provide as much insight as consultants would or could use in their work. But where they are able to support, it is significant. So if you have strong experience in market research, then this could be the role that you apply for, if there are any openings. So as you can see, there are so many different types of roles in consulting, and an even larger number of angles that you might be able to take in applying to any of them. There are so many types of career experience that you might have that I haven't even mentioned, but generally I've excluded those on the basis that I couldn't see a strong connection with any specific consulting role. By no means, though, does that mean that you should not apply to consulting. If you meet the criteria of a role that you're interested in, then you should absolutely go for it. Just let me know in the comments below if you have specific questions about how your experience might apply, and I'll do what I can for you. The key takeaway is, be as specific as you can in your consulting application about how your experience so far will mean that you will be great in the role that you're applying to. Hopefully what I've said helps at least spark some ideas for you in how you can do that. If it has, then let me know by liking the video. And if you'd like to see what I post next, then definitely subscribe to my channel. Social media links are below if you'd like those. And if you have any questions or comments, then feel free to use the comment section here and I'll do my best to answer absolutely everything. In the meantime, I thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day and I wish you all the best with your exploring.